Hello and welcome. My name is Mark and this is Immanuel and Jen Commarmond and Tyler and Kate Lynn. And on Sunday, at all our congregations, we made the announcement that these two amazing couples will be stepping off eldership and moving on to new locations, new spaces to live, seeing the kingdom of God advanced as they go. But what does that mean for the life of our church? What is eldership? So before I ask them a few questions and bring you a little bit more into the story, I thought I'd take a moment to explain eldership in the life of our church. As we have many teams that make church happen. We have the dream team who serve in the car parks and the coffee teams, and then we have worship teams, people who have gifts on their life to sing and serve in that capacity, writing songs and playing bass guitars while dancing in white shoes. Yes, that's Impele. But we have many different teams. We have prayer teams. We have leaders teams, we have all sorts of teams, but there's one team the Bible speaks specifically about that is really essential in the life of a local church. And there are different language used for these teams, but in the Bible there's this word called elder or eldership. And so these amazing couples have played incredible roles on the eldership team of Life Changes Church. And very, very simply, to bring you in the picture, the eldership and the role of eldership is to guide, govern and guard the forward momentum, the forward movement of the local church, to make sure that I'm behaving myself, to make sure that the direction of the doctrine is good and healthy and strong, to work with those who outside our stories, apostolic figures like Roy and Mel Dyer, Rich and Jackie Mungavin, Craig and Andy Clark who walk alongside us and many others, together overseeing the forward movement of the local church. All that said, these amazing couples have played incredible roles in that story. This couple for the last 5 and a bit years, and that's incredible. And Tyler and Kate for just over a year in the life of our story. And I first want to just say thank you. On behalf of the broader team, we have absolutely loved every part of the journey. And although it is a bittersweet moment, there's the bitter aspect of we're not going to be doing life together, partnering in this capacity which we've loved. There is the sweetness of knowing that God is deep down in your story. The kingdom of God keeps advancing. It doesn't matter where we live as long as God is showing us and guiding us. And I know that part of the stirring has been the stirring of God to say there's other shores that He would have you at this time. So maybe that's just a really good segue to jump into say, what does the next season look like for you and your families at this time? Where's that? What shores does it look like? And share it with the people.
We are very excited for a next step in our journey. We feel a strong call to go to KZN. We're from there originally, many years back before coming to Cape Town, but we feel that there's a new season starting off there for God's call and what He's sending us as a couple to. And we're excited for what's next in that. Stepping off of eldership and reaching this decision has been an extremely tough one. Because it's been an incredible 5 years, but we know that there are times and seasons for everything, and we're excited to what that next step is for us.
Amazing, man. What about the Lynns?
Yeah, I think for us, very exciting. We are heading to the United Kingdom, which is far and new, and we're really excited and filled with faith for the move. But I think in our processing, I've been part of Life Changes for 11 years, on the staff team for 9. You've been part of Life Changes?
6 years.
6 amazing years, best years of Life Changes, because Kate was there.
Yes.
But yeah, I think for me personally, and Kate can speak for herself a little bit in that area, but I think for me, 9 years on staff, 11 years part of a church where I've been passionate about serving the church for many of those years and there's always been a desire in my heart to lead God's people, and so eldership has always been something actually of a desire and dream for me. And actually the Bible says it is good to desire eldership, and so actually to be invited onto that team was not ever something that we took remotely lightly. Actually is an incredibly humbling, we realize important and key role in the life of our church. And so even in our processing of coming onto eldership, it was weighty, much prayer, much consideration, but we felt with all conviction in God to say yes to the call to come onto eldership. And we are incredibly grateful that we did say yes, because we have loved, even albeit a short period of time, we've loved every minute of being on that team, praying for our church, praying for people, hearing stories. I think it's a unique privilege of leading and fighting for people, but then also having the opportunity to be in stories of breakthrough in life. And so we've been so privileged to be a part of that. And then in our processing over the last few months of going, Yeah, I think there's always been a desire in my wife and I to go overseas, and but actually felt God say yes, felt God say start doing the process, and processing with Mark and Cairns, some tears shed, some very serious moments of actually, God, is this what you want? We take the call of eldership incredibly seriously, so to step out of that space equally seriously. And so I think for us, we are very sad to be stepping out of an amazing team. Team is an awesome privilege. And really have prayed hard into it, and we really feel the yes of God. And so, yeah, very excited, very sad, and filled with faith.
Amazing. Well, we'll come back. You mentioned this word privilege a number of times, and maybe I'm going to throw it back to the Lynn's. It really is, and I speak for myself, just the greatest privilege. I came on at 27 years old. I got this title, which was weird to me because our church didn't do titles, but of elder, and we don't use titles a lot. But it's more than just sitting in the front of church.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't know that. Maybe they think, well, that's what church is. There's this religious. No, it's not that at all. It's God's call for His church and the best of His church, that for a time and for a season there would be this service unique with men and women called to serve in that space and the area of leading church. So Ty, tell us a little bit about what it's been, the highs, the highlights, the greatest challenges of your time on eldership as an elder in the life of Life Changes Church.
Yeah, I think for me, probably some of the coolest, albeit challenging moments for me, because I really don't enjoy getting up at 5:30 in the morning. But every Tuesday as an eldership, we gather at the Life Changes facility and we pray together. And actually what is unique about that prayer time, one is the privilege of obviously praying, but I think for me the unbelievable privilege is having the opportunity to fight for people without people even knowing you're fighting for them. And that often is what prayer is. And I think for me, as an eldership, we'll often share of this person, let's trust for this, let's trust for breakthrough for this life and this story, and being able to fight those battles. Mark might be the one meeting with that person, or Gabs, or any one of the team, but actually to be able to sit and fight for people's stories. And I think it's one thing about eldership that I've realized, it very much stops your life from becoming insular, because you are consistently fighting for and trusting for more. And I think those have been real highlights for me. And then actually the breakthrough stories, the stories of people going into hospital, us praying for healing and there being breakthrough, the stories of marriages that have been in really tough spaces and actually praying and seeing those breakthroughs come, I think has been a huge privilege. And then I think for me, one of the most weighty things is actually being in the room and in the conversation when we are having to make decisions about moving forward, about what is our church's next best steps. And actually that is a scary thing, because when an eldership team make a decision, they're saying we're taking a community with us, and so we take those decisions very seriously. But having the opportunity to input and go, wow, maybe it could be this, and dream and do that. I love dreaming, I love strategizing, seeing the future, and so to be able to play a role in doing that has been a very, very special privilege. So I'm very grateful for that, and for God using me and us in that space.
Tell us, Kate, I know a little bit of your story and stepping into this, and what's been the greatest privilege for you in this journey?
Sure. So I joined Life Changes 6 years ago. I was looking for a new church home. I'd been on that journey for quite a while, and I really felt like God had highlighted this place to me in quite a special way. And I literally just felt like I was part of the furniture immediately. And so it's been an amazing journey of just getting deeper and deeper into this community, and dealing with some of your own stuff and then helping other people deal with theirs has been an amazing journey. And then when we were asked onto eldership, wow, I just felt like it was the biggest honor, to be very honest. It was just like, wow, that God would highlight us for such a big role and an integral role in the church was just massive, and I think one of the greatest privileges is just actually, like, as simple as that, being part of that team, being, put into spaces where you really are trusting for people's futures, where you're helping people build. And, eldership actually does give you a bit more space with people to have tougher conversations, to go the extra mile. And I think one of the challenges in lockdown was, how do you lead people when you're not seeing them every week? So that was interesting, but again, trusting God to lead us in those times, and working with an amazing leadership team was also just incredible. So it's definitely bittersweet for me as well.
Yeah, amazing. And the Commarmonds, you are sometimes, compared to some of the people you've been on team with, a little bit quieter. I'll accept that, and I'll take that's a good thing, and team needs that. But the one thing I've always known, you guys have gone after the ones, been willing to sit. I've been amazed at your willingness to love and sit, and maybe your story in navigating this and the privilege of being on Eldership. What are some of the highlights for you guys?
For me, one of the main highlights that came out in a book form sort of unpacks what are the highlights generally for us. A couple of years ago, we released that booklet with everybody's testimonies.
Devoted, yeah.
Devoted. And I think that's generally the highlight, is that we get the opportunity to see a living version of that consistently happening every day, every week, hearing testimonies, also hearing the challenges, hearing what people are really going through behind the scenes that not everybody hears, and being able to stand with people in faith, being able to trust God for breakthrough, and seeing breakthrough, seeing incredible stories. And I know that book was released, but it's actually, there's so many more, there's hundreds of more stories that we've had the privilege of being a part of. So that's one of the things, just being a part of that, being able to see that, and being a part of the team that's fighting for that. Another thing that really stands out for me is care. So a couple of years ago, we were in a space where we really wanted to take forward how we care for people. And just being a part of the team up front, strategizing and coming up with ideas as to how do we get better at reaching out for the one? How do we get better at meeting people where they're at? Because some people might get a miracle like that and everything changes. Other people need a journey. And being able to see that process and care process unfold has really been something special for me, because there's so many gifted people who God wants to use throughout the church, not just the leadership, but God's gifted people in counseling. God has gifted people in just opening up their homes in hospitality and prayer, and just something of being a part of that to unlock other people's potential and other people's giftings. It's just been a special thing to see, and you're seeing people thriving in their callings. Even as we're recording this, people are going to arrive outside for recovery and start meeting together and going on a journey that God has planned and set out. So being a part of seeing church move beyond just the Sunday into everybody's lives, into everybody's challenges.
Amazing.
And a lot has happened over the last 5 years, and it's been an absolute honor being a part of seeing that happen. And one other aspect that comes to mind also is that every year we get an opportunity as a team to go away and pray and strategize as to what has God got for the church for the next year. And this year it's John 10:10, and the world may have turned seemingly upside down, but we're still trusting God for that. We're trusting God for abundance. We're trusting God for overflow. And every year it's been an incredible part, being a part of that story where there's a theme, there's something that God's given us as a vision for the church. And what's really special is the people who are partners within this church make it so easy, because they follow hard, they serve, they get involved, they get stuck in. And we see the church moving forward because of everybody taking their role and doing it with everything.
Amazing. And you guys have been amazing in that. Maybe just, Jen, I'm going to throw you in there a little bit. Your eldership journey and coming onto team almost coincided timing-wise with the birth of an amazing little one called Amy. And part of that is there's been a sacrifice in this for you guys. I know that, of hours at church, in meetings, and yet navigating little ones. But one of the things that you stood up and you took, partnered with other ladies in pioneering something of the loving the moms who were in that space of life. And I just want to honor you for that. But maybe talk about that one little part of the role that you played, because people wouldn't know the many aspects and stepping up to throw design aspects into your Rise events. But talk about that one thing, because I know it was a passion for you to step up and love moms in that stage of life at that time.
Yeah, I think it's because mums are very vulnerable. You've just had a baby, and I think in times gone by you would have a lot of family and other ladies around you, and we don't have that anymore. So I think just to have that, to have somebody see you and notice you and just walk alongside you is something incredible. My mom was there for me, but not everyone has that. So
it's amazing.
It's also such a growth opportunity for moms where you can really explode their understanding of God's love for them as they are understanding their responsibility towards this child and how God sees us as children.
Incredible.
It's, to me, just a beautiful season, a beautiful time in life, and
it's been a massive blessing too. Thank you, thank you. There have been so many of these. I could tell stories for days about these amazing people, and we will at church over the next weeks just celebrate the gifts. I think it's really important to celebrate the unique gifts. And maybe, I call him T-Dog, but his name's Tyler in a very fancy shirt today. But Ty, one of your journey that's a bit different to the rest of the crew up to this evening is that you've been on staff for 9 years. So and just tell us a little bit about your staffing journey in the life of Life Change. What would people not know behind the scenes about what it is to be on staff in a church that's a bit unique?
Yeah, I think even as Immanuel speaking, I was just thinking that Kate was in your guys' home group when she first came to church.
Amazing,
I think, there we go. Amen, hallelujah. I think for me, it is an intriguing journey. So I came onto staff at Life Changes before Mark and Candace even lived in Cape Town. They were in Durban. Wally and Shirley were leading our church, and I came to Wally, 18 years old, finishing school, saying I'd love to intern at Life Changes, and I got stuck in. I started doing youth and kind of just helping Gabe. He was leading our youth at the time, and helping him, and then through that took over leadership of our youth ministry and ran at that. And then obviously Mark and Cans took over, and my role morphed into something of leading youth, but also helping pioneer in new spaces of we went from having life groups serving on a Sunday to having serving teams serving on a Sunday, and what seems so natural now to us as a church then really was pioneering and hard work and figuring out how we're going to do this and where we're going to get people who want to make coffee for 2 hours on a Sunday. But we found them.
Angels.
Right.
Coffee angels.
Yeah. But I think for me what has been amazing is I will say that it has been the most incredible growth journey imaginable. What people don't realize is actually, when I often would hear this, don't you only work on a Sunday? And that is often the assumption of, well, what happens behind the scenes of a church? But actually often behind the church is a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. As you pull that curtain back and there's a guy on a bicycle just running, really like trying to make things happen. And actually, that is what it often is, but it is an incredible privilege.
It's Gabe on the bicycle.
Please let the projector work. That's a story for another time. But I think for me it was, and what was incredible is I didn't join a staff team as an elder. I joined the staff team as an intern, doing whatever had to be done, whether it was printing 1,000 songs for worship teams and putting them in files that they all lost 3 weeks later, or whatever it was. It was really, when it being behind the scenes in a church, it really is very simply, how do you serve the local church? And whether that is, at that time was leading youth, then it became building serving teams, then it became developing our AV teams and upgrades to our building and learning ways to serve people better. And then lockdown hit and it was learn how to start a production company and do church online. And I think for me, some of the most incredible things about being on staff at a church, one is that the team aspect is incredibly unique. In the sense that you are friends, you work together, you go to church together, you do all of these things together, and that has some difficulties to it, but actually if you navigate it well, it is an unbelievable privilege. And I think for us, Mark has said it a few times in the journey, is the relationships are in an incredibly good space. We're not leaving because we have to or because someone's grumpy. No, I'm actually in the best space I've ever been on staff here at Life Changes. And actually, for me, that has been years of sometimes really tough conversations. I won't say I was always happy. I remember I think it was my 21st birthday, Gabe called me up front to honor me, and say, you guys might know Tyler, he's often walking around looking really grumpy on a Sunday, making things happen. And I remember, yes, lovely man, I remember that being a watershed moment for me, because I was like, wow, okay, I don't want to be that person. I want to get better. I want to become more like Jesus. I want to serve people better. And I think for me, I've learned lots of skills, done lots of different things, but one thing I really have learned is that if you will plant yourself in the house of the Lord, you will flourish. And planting myself sometimes was hard. Sometimes it was hard when I was sitting with a leader and he was going, hey bro, you need to work on these things. Or when I was going through an incredibly tough time at home or in my personal life, and your immediate instinct is, let's just pull back and hide away, and actually going, no, I'm going to plant myself in community. I'm going to push through. I'm going to allow people to be around me. I'm going to allow people to call me out. And all of that was an 8-year staff journey that landed on the privilege of being called onto eldership, because not because I'm particularly phenomenal, not because of any of those things, because I chose to plant myself and trust God. And honestly, the hardest thing about leaving is leaving this community. So yeah, it's been lots of fun. I've made some of my best friends on staff at church. I love the people I work with, and I think our church is in an incredible space.
Yeah, and I think that is important, that often when people leave churches, there must be something wrong. No, sometimes God brings things to an end so new things can grow. New fields can be planted. New nations can be reached, and that's what we're trusting here, and that's what's going on here. But maybe I'm going to jump back to the Commarmond clan and just jump ahead, as we need to bring this to a close. But what are you going to miss most? And I know that I've left one church. This is my second church. But what are you going to miss most? And what does that look like? And I know that you've had to process that in making this decision. And this is a faith decision for both of you. This is not a fear decision. I realize lots of people are moving overseas. This is not that Lynn's running overseas. This is God moving people so that His kingdom can be extended. I need you to know that. I need to know that the questions have been asked about eldership, about the local church, about the role, and we've felt, and as a team, processed, prayed, and fasted that God would lead our friends for the kingdom advancing. So, what are you going to miss most?
I think to answer that question, I just
you can't say me just for the camera, just
or the coffee,
Gabriel, or
the coffee. But that is one of them. But I think for us, this decision has been 2 years in the making. It hasn't been an easy one to make, particularly because our roots go deep here. I remember about 6 years ago, Gabe challenged me and he said, you need to get planted, you need to dig your roots in deep. That's the only way you're going to really see what God has for you. And we did that. And they are deep, and it's not an easy thing to be able to uproot them because of the people that are here, because of the friendships, because of the family. It really does. All of our family aren't in this province, and it's just an incredible thing to know that you've got family here. You've got people that you can call at any moment and who call you, and you don't get that everywhere. And we're going to miss that, and it's hard sore uprooting and starting to uproot and starting to say goodbyes. But the beauty, as you said, is that we're not, leaving the church. We're still brothers and sisters. We're still connected. And I know for a very long time we're still going to be on the online church, leaning in and being a part of it as much as we can, as God opens up what the next step is.
Amazing. Jane, anything to say?
Just the relationships, the people, the community here is something special, and we'll miss everybody. It's not easy to go. We've really had to be very clear that we've heard from God about that, because it's held us here for all this time, this community. So, and the team, it's a privilege to be on a team and to be prayed for and to pray and see what goes on behind the scenes
Amazing.
Miss all of that.
Kate?
I think I share Jen's sentiments in that it's hard to leave a community, although we'll all still be in touch in that. But I mean, that these are people who really pray for you. They really care. If you're ever in a hospital bed or in need of meals, they would be there. And I mean, it's just a phenomenal, special thing that I think I'm going to miss. And I really hope we can find overseas as well. But I also think one of the things that I love about our church is just the drive always for excellence and to just serve God by serving people really well. It's so special, and it's something you can trust and lean on. So definitely going to miss that.
I think I said to Kate, I'm so grateful that we, before we left, had the opportunity to meet in person again. Because for me, I just had sounds strange, but I really didn't want to leave without worshiping with people in a room again. And I think in my lowest lows and my highest highs, but we often say Sunday is just a meeting, but there's something powerful about it. I often would sit and worship in a room and go, it doesn't matter what I'm going through, there's life here. And so I think my best friends I'm saying goodbye to in a physical sense. But something about worshiping with people is so beautiful, and I really have loved that.
We wanted to take a moment as this announcement, as we want to celebrate every person who comes through the door. We want to celebrate them out the front door as well, and the same for our leaders. So often in churches, some of these things aren't done particularly well, and we wanted to let you know God's on the move. When He sends people out and He sends them into new nations or new cities, God is on the move, and we've got it on the wall of our church. Reach far, raise up, and release wide.
Yeah.
And so as we get to say goodbye to you guys on behalf of the eldership team and the church, I don't know how to say thank you. I could never say thank you enough. But we love you.
Yeah.
We are going to miss you. And we navigate these stories because if it wasn't sore, something would be wrong.
Yeah.
And it is sore. I'm going to be the first to say it's sore, and I know I speak on behalf of Gabe, the whole team, it is sore. But God has done spectacular things. And I want to say to Life Changers Church, it's just the greatest privilege to be a leader in this community. It's just the greatest privilege to come before God and pray for you, and to pray His blessing and His best over you. And I want to say thank you to this team who've done that. We're going to have some moments along the way with the different congregations celebrating more, but we wanted to take a moment just to bring clarity to this decision and to this moment. Thank you for being a courageous people. Thank you for being a powerful people who trust a mighty King. And as some of your leaders, we say thank you for that privilege.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Sunday. We cannot wait to be together soon, whether it's online or in person. We cannot wait to be together. Have an amazing week.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah.